Now, in our first story, the Greater Accra region is leading with more challenged cases in the ongoing nationwide voter registration exercise. The OT region has also recorded the highest percentage of registered voters in the ongoing exercise. Now, if the trend in pace of registering voters continues, the Greater Accra region alone will constitute more than 20% of total registered voters in the country. The region currently constitutes some 20.9% of the country's voter population. Deputy Chairperson of the Electoral Commission in charge of corporate affairs, Dr. Bosman Asare, gave the update at the third edition of the Let the Citizen Know series. Latif Idris has been monitoring the event and joins us on the line. Latif, what more has Dr. Asare been saying?
All right, Daniel. So today what the commission seeks to do is to give the breakdown as far as the accumulated number of registered voters across the country is concerned. You remember somewhere last week we brought you updates on the second phase of the ongoing exercise. Now today we have the figure from the Electoral Commission. This is confirmed. What we put out last week, according to the commission, was provisional. So today they've come up with the correct and accurate figure as far as the number of registered voters is concerned. And this is it. After the second phase of the ongoing exercise, maybe let me take us back a bit. So the first phase, we recorded some 2,225,826 voters across the country. On the second phase, that's phase 2, we recorded some 2,219,520. So if you put this together, at the end of the first phase, we are looking at some 4,455,346 people have registered across the country. Now, if you go down, there is also another table that gives you the breakdown on the 2020 VR proof of eligibility. The proof of eligibility, we know there is the Ghana card, there is passport, and also the guarantorship system. If you look at the Ghana card, it is leading the pack with some 62.34%. So if you take this over 4 million people who have registered, 62% of them went to register using the Ghana card, 1.9 registered using the passport, and then 36.72 registered using the guarantorship option that has been made available by the Electoral Commission. You know, we've had some 0.2% challenge at the various registration centers across the country. And on that score, the Greater Accra region is leading with challenged cases. Now, Daniel, another issue that has also come up has to do with the quantum of registrants across the country. It has come up that the border towns have recorded the highest number of registrants in the ongoing exercise. The OT region alone, we know, constitutes not much when you look at the accumulated voter population. But percentage-wise, the OT region is leading with some margin that is far above the Greater Accra region. So OT region is leading, and the Western North, the Western region, all these places are border towns. The Volta region, they are leading the pack when you look at the percentage-wise, the number of people that have registered in the ongoing exercise, Daniel.
Latif, when you say percentage-wise, those who have registered, shed some more light on that for me. You mean the percentage of the accumulated voter population that has registered so far?
So it's the percentage of accumulated number of registrants who now have their names in the album. So the Greater Accra region has a huge number of people that have had their eligibility challenged. So you go to the registration center to register, and then someone comes up and say, you are not a Ghanaian, you are not up to age, you are a minor. So then there is a committee that has been set up by the Electoral Commission to sit down and look into for you to prove that, yes, I am a Ghanaian and that I've turned 18 or I'm above 18, and so I can register. On that score, the Greater Accra is leading. That is a challenge case. But if you go down and look at the number of people who have registered across the country, the OT region is leading more than the Greater Accra region.
Thank
but
you.
What Dr. Bosmanasari is saying is that if we look at the trend, the delays, the BVR non-functioning, and all of that, if this continues for us throughout the registration exercise, then the Greater Accra region would have the highest number of registered voters to go into the elections. You know, like I just pointed out, the OT region is leading, but in terms of numbers, you can't compare OT region's population to that of the Greater Accra region. So OT may be leading in percentage, but if you come to real actual numbers, the Greater Accra is on top as far as number of registered voters are concerned. Daniel.
Lassie, thank you very much for those updates. We stay in the arena of politics, and the NDC has outlined 10 reasons they believe are key indicators that the Akufo-Addo administration has lost the fight against COVID-19. According to the party, closure of some state institutions, suspension of emergency services at Kolebu, lack of isolation facilities, and others show that government has no clue on how to contain the spread of the virus. The NDC is insisting government has been overwhelmed by coronavirus. Now, at its 7th weekly press engagement, National Communications Officer of the NDC, Sami Jainfi, asked Ghanaians to hold government liable for the spike in COVID-19 cases.
Number 5. Furthermore, ladies and gentlemen, the significant reduction of testing and contact tracing being spearheaded by the failed Akufo-Addo government is a major setback to our COVID-19 fight. Government's refusal to pay contact tracers their meager allowances, despite Parliament making financial provision for same, has led to the complete abandonment of contact tracing, thereby letting loose the ravaging virus in our communities. Also, our severely constrained testing capacity and shortage of test reagents and other vital supplies, which accounts for the huge backlog of samples waiting to be tested at both the Noguchi Center of Medical Research and the Kumasi Center of Collaborative Research, is further exacerbating our failing fight against the virus. Number 7, still giving you indicators that show that our fight against COVID-19 is failing. Additionally, ladies and gentlemen, the lack of isolation facilities to contain our positive cases is very worrying. Currently, most of our hospitals and health facilities are full and overstretched, leading to the suspension of other critical emergency health services, while our ICUs are also getting full. This situation has led to an increase in self-isolation of positive cases, which is undermining our COVID fight, as the evidence show that voluntary self-isolation, let me take this again. Ladies and gentlemen, this situation where our hospitals are getting full and overstretched and our ICUs are also getting full, that has led to an increase in self-isolation of positive cases, is undermining our COVID-19 fight, as the evidence on voluntary self-isolation show relatively low compliance to safety protocols as compared to mandatory isolation. Number 8, another serious problem confronting us currently is the inadequacy of health personnel to manage our COVID-19 cases, as was recently admitted by the Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Insiansari, in the media a few weeks ago, that we have been overwhelmed with our astronomically high positive cases, that we do not have the right physicians and health professionals to even manage, our COVID-19 cases. Ladies and gentlemen, that reflects the dire straits we find ourselves in at this present moment. Also, the inconsistent and doubtful data on our COVID-19 situation, leading to loss of public confidence, is a major problem. The several instances of manipulation of data by government to create a false sense of security instead of reporting the true facts as they pertain to our situation has gradually chipped away public confidence in government's management of the pandemic.
Apologies for the slight hiccup there. We'll bring you that story subsequently. Now, the CSO's cluster on decentralization and citizens' participation has congratulated Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman on her nomination as running mate for the National Democratic Congress, NDC. The confirmation of the first female running mate for a major political party is a moment that the nation should celebrate, according to this group. Now, joining us is Ifwa Chidi, who is a women's rights activist. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, good afternoon.
Right. So why do you feel this is such an important milestone? Madam Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman is the sixth vice presidential candidate in our nation's history. What's new about this?
We think it is quite significant because in the history of elections in Ghana, we've had not so effective. That's not so effective. The little political parties tried coming out with female presidential candidates or vice presidential candidates. We've had the likes of Mrs. Ebaloko, we've had the likes of Bridget Jogbanuku, and we've had our dear Ekwiadonko also. And then also we've had Samia Nkrumah. But for the two major political parties, talking about the NDC and the NPP, this is the first time ever that one of them has taken the step to promote a female vice presidential candidate. And to us in civil society, we think it is quite significant, hence the statement.
Right. So what does this achieve in terms of the gender activism space?
We think that you followed us from 2018 when we started this campaign for the passage of the Affirmative Action Bill. And like we stated in our statement and have said several times, our president is the gender champion of the African Union. He is also the co-chair on the Sustainable Development Goals. And one would have thought that with Goal 5 stating clearly that we're supposed to achieve gender equality, our president would have taken steps by now to make sure that the legal framework to encourage women's economic development and participation would have been passed by now. And so we think that with Nana, you will see lots of gender activists out there campaigning for Nana and the JM ticket, because we think that if a woman is a vice president of this country, she will actually push for the passage of this bill. We think that with a woman who understands, Nana, when it comes to women empowerment, we've seen Nana deliver lectures, we've seen her at workshops talk about women empowerment, and we think that with her as JM's vice president, she is going to push the agenda for the passage of this bill. We think she has our cause at heart. That is why we're pushing for Nana to be vice president.
Right. So this is an official declaration of support for the tickets then?
Yes, we support Nana, and we call on all gender activists, all feminists, all over this country. We support on anybody who support women empowerment to go out there, register, and vote for JM and Nana.
Thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The Ghana Union of Traders Association wants the Ghana Revenue Authority to expand the tax net to include e-commerce businesses The GRA is reviewing downwards revenue targets for 2020 amid the COVID-19 pandemic. President of GUTA believes more revenue can be derived from businesses in the e-commerce space. There is more in this report.
Businesses are turning to online platforms for various transactions. The coronavirus pandemic, though disrupting business activity, has created a huge demand for e-commerce, which today accounts for only 80% of business activity in the SME sector. Unfortunately, there is no data tracking system by the GRA to tax business activities online. President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obin, sees this avenue as a smart way by many to dodge tax payment. He tells Joy Business Ghana's revenue targets can be exceeded this year if the tax net is spread to include all transactions in the e-commerce sector.
E-commerce is coming strongly to overtake most of the physical trading that we do. And government having looked at that side, especially in the wake of the COVID, where physical movement of people, the people are transacting through the internet and all that, and a huge volume of goods are being sold there. Government should quickly go there, find ways to register those people who do all this trade, register them for payment of duties, VAT, and what have you, all the taxes. A whole lot of people are dodging the tax payment through this system. And it's developing very fast and it's developing very huge. Government has not looked in that direction. Government should henceforth take, once we are going to read the new budget and all that, I'm expecting the government to sit down with stakeholders, find ways, because it's electronically. Electronic programs begat electronic solution. How are you going to make sure that any transaction is also captured electronically? Are we going to have a server that any transaction will be captured on, so that GRA can monitor this transaction that is the emerging trend?
The GRA has been engaging Ministry of Finance to set a new lower revenue target for the year 2020 as COVID-19 disrupts the economy. As the internet becomes a hub for brisk online business, the GRA is pressed with the challenge of tracking down these business activity to ensure that all forms of e-commerce are duly taxed.
Now, the Bank of Ghana has issued a new set of directives to help deal with the surge in mobile money fraud. My colleague George Afe has more from the monthly fraud report.
A letter to all the financial institutions in the country from the Bank of Ghana revealed that most of the firms have been hit by some serious mobile money fraud from the first quarter of this year. The surge in this practice has resulted in a lot of banks falling victim. The report, for instance, recounts some of these practices, which includes a bank staff receiving a call from someone claiming to be an employee of a telco that has been trained to reverse these transactions on the mobile money account. So as part of the process, the bank staff is asked to enter some codes on the mobile money platforms. Interestingly, the codes are entered leading to debiting that bank. The development has forced the Bank of Ghana to issue a new set of regulations to all players in the financial sector. The first directive is that all staff of the various financial institutions and the banks should be made aware of these kinds of fraud, according to the Bank of Ghana. No staff, according to the central bank, should be allowed to single-handedly reverse a mobile money transaction. At least 2 should be preferable. This staff, the regulator believes, should be from management level. Banking officials that handle these transactions must be instructed that they deal directly from a representative from the head office of these telecom companies. The Bank of Ghana, in a letter to all the institutions, argued that these instructions are not cast in stone and will be reviewed when it matters, looking at the current environment. Well, based on this letter, it looks like the mobile money fraud has moved beyond these fraudsters just calling on suspected individuals to commercial banks and other financial institutions. With all their internal checks and compliance issues, they are even falling victim to these practices.
More on that story and others coming up at 1 o'clock on the Marketplace. Up next, sports with Nathaniel Atto.
Becky is already in studio to bring us the latest in showbiz. Hi, Becky.
Hello to you, Daniel. How you doing? It's another week.
It's another week. Ask me what my word of the weekend was.
What was
entanglement?
I know. And we'll bring you that particular story later on.
Okay.
But let's talk about Kwame Eugene. He says that he's not, you know, there were speculations that he was leaving.
About his hair or something.
Oh, the hair and the fact that he's leaving Links Entertainment. But he's saying that he's not leaving Links Entertainment.
I'm sure you've also heard it.
Of course.
Yes. And what do you have to say to it?
Okay, the first time I heard the news, I was like, okay, because people speculate in this industry. People sit home and put things together that they don't even understand. One, I love Links Entertainment so much, and obviously people can tell. And two, I'm not that kind of person that is always in a hurry to leave where he started from, or I still go to Fadama and go and eat over there. I understand that. Remember the road that will lead you home. You get it. At the end of the day, Links found me. They nurtured me. Like Richie Mensah found me from Fadama. He nurtured me, and today I'm here. You get it. So I remember the fact that he nurtures me. And if my contract is not over, I am not going anywhere. Because right now I've had record labels contact me and all that. I mean, other record labels, some are from Nigeria, some are from some other African countries. That, I mean, they want to come in now hearing that I'm no more with Links Entertainment. And I just don't get it. I don't get the reason why someone will sit somewhere and say that Kwame Eugene is no more with Links Entertainment. I am with Links Entertainment. I'm not leaving now. Okay, so those record labels thinking I'm out of Links Entertainment, so they are giving me messages that I should come so we talk business and all that. I should hold on cry for now. Because I'm still with Links Entertainment and my contract is not over.